What's going on, beautiful people? It's your boy here, Wesley from WatchACTV.com and A-Connection TV here on YouTube, the two places on the World Wide Web where we actually adopt similar connections despite our differences. And welcome to another video on my channel. Now, this particular video, I want to talk about Will Smith and Janet Hubert. I got an opportunity to watch the reunion on HBO Max. Shout out to the HBO Max people because they actually are giving me what I need more so than Netflix. And I know that's really hard to believe because Netflix has like a million trillion shows on their online streaming network. But I don't know, I just feel like I get my soul fed a little bit more with HBO Max, especially with like the original stuff that comes on HBO Max. But I like Netflix. I have both Netflix and HBO Max. I do not have Disney Plus. I won't get Disney Plus until the Marvel shows start releasing. But anyways, suffice it to say, I saw the reunion and I was thoroughly entertained by the reunion. The part where they were paying tribute to James Avery was super emotional. My eyes got a little watery, although no tears dropped. Victor was the one crying all over the place. But it was like rightfully so, because it was just so great how they honored him and everybody had great things to say. And everybody, including Jazz, was in tears during the tribute to James Avery. So I appreciated that. When I watched the reunion though, two things came to mind. One, where's the original Aunt Viv? And two, where's the son? I couldn't understand why the son came so far into the reunion. I can't even remember when he actually came onto the show. I don't know if it was season 5 or season 4. I can't remember, but I was like, I remember the son. And they were showing clips with the son in there. I just couldn't understand why he came to the tail end. I'm just glad that he showed up, and I'm glad that Janet Hubert showed up. But another thing that came to my mind was, what was the relationship between the cast and Janet? Not just Will Smith and Janet, because from what I remember, 2018, 2019 was the last time I saw that Janet Hubert had put something out about Will Smith and his family. Really negative. You know, they had been going back and forth over the years. But I don't recall seeing anything regarding Janet Hubert and any of the other castmates. So I was very curious as to what the relationship was with Janet Hubert with the rest of the castmates. Would they be cool with her coming back from, you know, to the reunion? Because I saw the clip of her coming out. And anyways, that was what was going through my mind. And then during the union, we had this like separate segment with Will Smith and Janet Hubert. Rightfully so, because apparently it was clear as day that those particular two individuals were the one that had the most disdain for each other. I'm enjoying the reunion, and then when we get to the Janet part, like a ton of bricks was sitting on my heart because you could just feel the tension. You could cut it with a knife. Soon as she got onto the audience bleachers or whatever, I just felt she looked around and I could feel what was going through her mind. Like, should I be doing this? Is this what I should be doing? What's going to happen? How am I going to respond? How am I going to react? At least those are the thoughts that are running through my head about what she could be possibly thinking. Clearly she's older, you know, and when she was doing the show, she was in her 30s, 32, 34, 30 some odd years later, she's in her 60s, right? Will is in his 50s, right? Okay. They're both considerably older. So maybe she's a little bit more mild-mannered, a little bit more temperament, you know, calm, reserved. Will Smith comes right behind and makes a comment. They laugh, they chuckle, they give each other a hug. In my mind, this conversation had to have been had before she even agreed to come on the reunion. In my mind, both parties sat down and said, okay, if not for anything else, we will hash this out on the reunion and this is what we will talk about. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think that the discussions were between their publicists or their agents or whoever was, you know, managing the show. In my mind, I'm thinking Will Smith needed to have had a conversation with her and vice versa. Just to say, hey, this is what we want to utilize this time for. Right? At least in my brain, that should have had happened. I'm thinking 50s, 60s, that happened. So they sit down and again, cut the tension with a knife. Good Lord Jesus. In my mind though, the overall conversation was really short. And I saw with my editing eyes that it was really edited. And you could tell because the responses that Will Smith was giving weren't warranted. Like it was coming out of thin air. Like he was saying yes and there was no question answered or a question asked. And I was just like, okay, so they sliced this the hell up. Is this natural? Like what am I feeling? Like is anything resolved? Because right after that they talked for a brief second and then we're with the rest of the cast. And I'm just like, huh? I couldn't even, like what? What are we talking about here? I don't understand. But I'm like, okay, if she's coming to the full cast, something was resolved. But we didn't see all of it. And I know we didn't see all of it. But I'm like, it was just too awkward. Everything was so natural with the full cast. And then we get with Janet, it's just awkward as shit. Okay, so out of nowhere, I'm surfing YouTube and I come across some profile that has the full a Red Table Talk discussion with Will Smith, his psychiatrist friend or whatever she is to him, and about Janet Hubert. And so I click on it because because after watching the reunion I was like something was off with that, and I felt empty inside. After all of that, you know, you see the whole cast is in tears, loving each other. They're in a circle, and then she comes out at the end. We see her in a blink of an eye, and then it's over. I was like, no, that's not all of it. Something's missing here. So we watch Red Table Talk, and you know, I'm like, Will Smith is taking over the table. Okay, cool, Will Smith. Give us more insight as to what actually happened because you didn't show it all on the reunion on HBO Max. So, of course, I was right. We didn't see it all on the reunion. They had way more time with each other than what we saw on the reunion. And there was even a part where she had to walk off stage because she was crying. But that is what they should have had that on the reunion. Now, I'm thinking in his business mindset, he probably kept all of that for Red Table Talk so people can go back and feed the family. Fine. But, you know, had I not saw that, I still would have left the reunion feeling like it was empty, void of emotion for all parties involved, right? Main cast, sure, but Janet Hubert cast it out. Okay, so I see the full conversation. If you haven't seen the full conversation, you should click the link. I'll probably have it below this video. Click the link and watch the full conversation because it explains more and you walk away understanding both parties more. So many people, though, that watch the reunion that I know of, a lot of individuals that I know of, other YouTubers and people that saw it, were really going off on Will Smith, how he should have did this and he should have did that and he. And I'm like, how is that even remotely fair? There's two parties involved here. And Janet said one thing, at least on the HBO Max reunion, that struck a chord with me. She was going through so many problems in her life, and Will Smith had no idea. And she admitted saying, she had said it on the HBO Max reunion. You know, I had been going through so much, and you didn't even know. Will Smith said, yeah, I didn't know. Right away, I'm like, okay, sis, really, sis? Right away, like that's the vibe. That's what I immediately, I'm like, come on then. Why are we mad? Why are we mad? But watching Red Table Talk, I'm listening to both sides. I'm understanding both sides. Will Smith had his family issues in personal life at the age of 21 being a superstar. And then you have Janet Hubert, who was going through all of her woes and family issues at the age of 34. Both of them. I walk away saying that Janet should not have believed that a 21-year-old superstar was responsible enough to handle her in any mature, emotional, empathetic, sympathetic way. I don't know why she thought that would be possible. And if I were her, I wouldn't have thought it to be possible. That's just me, okay? These are my thoughts, okay? I already know that I'm often not, I already know, like, a lot of people don't adopt a similar connection with me despite our differences because I guess my opinions are so far left than the majority. But it is what it is. I still feel how I feel, okay? And And so that, for me, that was like problem number one. For anybody, including Janet, who expects people to respond or react in a certain way when they themselves do not know the full story or the full extent of what is actually going on in your world. How am I supposed to respond at all if I don't know what's going on in your world? She said that she was coming to set. She was quiet. She was not responding as much. She wasn't laughing at his jokes because she didn't naturally find him funny. So there was already a chemistry issue there. But she would just go to her room because apparently people were saying that when she was not needed on set, that she did not need to be included. Okay. And they offered her in what in her mind was a bad deal. And Will Smith didn't even know the extent of what the deal was that was given to her. All he knew was that she was upset and didn't want to cooperate. And she had changed and had become different and difficult in his mind. Combative in his mind. At 21 years old, 22, 23, you got all this money. If all you know is that you can just replace someone to keep the show going, to keep your livelihood going, why wouldn't you? If you don't know to the full extent what's really happening in this person's world. I think where Will Smith messed up, though. Okay, so for me, let's just get this out of the way. For me, I think Janet being as old as she was at the time when she was doing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, two things should have occurred. One, she should have opened up more and allowed at least the entire cast to know what, maybe James Avery or whoever, to know what was going on. And that way James Avery and the rest of the cast could be empathetic and sympathetic to her particular issues. And then, of course, Will Smith being a part of the cast would gain some sort of understanding as to what's really going on. I think if that would have happened, things probably could have been different. Probably. On top of that, you don't bring your personal problems to work. You just don't. That operates itself in any field that I know of. I've been in management since I've been 17, and those are one of the things you just know in business. You do not bring your personal feelings to work. And if it's that catastrophic for you, then you need to speak about it. Talk about it. You know, on top of that, if Janet felt that Will Smith was the ringleader behind her demise, why not go directly to Will Smith himself so that he can understand what's exactly going on? Even at 22, I don't think he would have, but Will Smith was never afforded that opportunity. So that's, I think for me in that time frame, I give majority of the responsibility to Janet because she was the adult. Fast forward, Will Smith is a major superstar. Will Smith has millions and millions and millions and millions of money, cash cow, has a family, has kids, has been divorced, remarried, all this scandal in his life in the tabloids. Will Smith promotes himself to be this understanding person of life in the pursuit of happiness. No pun intended. I felt like older Will Smith, over 30s Will Smith, entering 40s Will Smith, should have sat down with Janet Hubert a long time ago to figure out what the hell is wrong with this woman and why she keeps spewing all this hatred towards me, to get a better understanding as to what really went down so that this crap could stop. The public stuff could stop. That's where I sit the both of them. Again, I have no room to talk because I was not in any of their lives at any of these particular moments in their life. So it's easier said than done. But I honestly feel like you can't expect a 21-year-old that's making guap, that has their own family dynamic going on in their own household, to be man enough or adult enough or mature enough to help you out, sis. You just can't. Okay? But then on the flip side, when he does get older and he has some sense of self and understanding, he should have reached out to try to rectify things a long time ago. Now, I'm not saying that he never did. Maybe Janet was unreceptive. Maybe that was it. But I'm only going off of what they've shown me over the years and what I saw via the reunion and via this this Red Table Talk. I think a lot of individuals are saying that the Red Table Talk was him just stroking his ego. In the beginning, yeah, I thought so too. But I watched the whole thing. And I felt like it was a full circle. For, of course, himself, because he can only speak for himself because he's talking about himself. He cannot speak for Janet. And he made that clear, that he can't speak for Janet. Janet was not there. But it would be the craziest thing to think that someone that is operating in their own platform, as I am doing mine on YouTube, can't speak their mind and how they feel the situation went when they were actually in this situation. I'm not going to be able to speak for Janet. She's not here. But I need to make sure that I'm understood through ways of my platform. Even though it was, Jada's show. But, of course, Will Smith has every right to bring his psychiatrist friend or whoever on the show to talk about his feelings. And then on top of that, we get to learn a lot more about him to understand where he was. Again, 21, super successful. No expectations for him, but y'all had a lot. So we finally get to understand that he has some family issues and you can clearly see that a lot of that still is sitting with him. Clearly see, I got a sense of where his acting comes from. The ability to cry on cue, the ability to give so much emotion. I could see it clear as day. Clear as day when he was explaining his childhood. But I was appreciative because he didn't have to do this. He did not have to show us the full conversation that happened between them. But even the psychiatrist said that was a lot to come at you at once. And even and I felt it, Janet was attacking the hell out of him. And she had every right to. She had every right to because those are her feelings. And she needed to express them however she felt fit. But again, she didn't let it be known what she was going through at that particular time. So you can't expect people to respond the way that you want them to when you're not telling them the whole truth. And I think that's one of the things that people in life need to understand. If you don't speak what's going on in your brain, there's no way for me to know. Therefore, there's no way for me to respond in any way, shape, or form, especially in the way that you want me to. And I think that's a problem with a lot of people. We need to understand that we can't expect people to respond the way that we want them to because we're not them. And on top of that, they don't feel what we feel. A lot of people have a problem with understanding that. And it is what it is. I think that's a great reason for people to go and seek therapy and seek counsel so that they can probably get a better understanding of how the opposing side could feel, because the psychiatrist did. Once the psychiatrist got off of Will Smith's John and started speaking a full circle, I was like, okay, now we're going somewhere, because this whole show better not be about all of it better not be about him and how he was attacked. No. No, because we can get off of 21-year-old Will Smith now. He is in his 40s, 50s. He's in his 50s. Let's talk to 50-year-old Will Smith, okay? That preaches to us all the time. That needs to understand his plight, his role in this particular situation. Let's talk to him, sis. And she did. And I thought that was good. I thought the whole entire video was good. I thought it was rewarding, and I thought it was therapeutic. I thought even the psychiatrist helped me in some ways when she discussed, his need to be successful and his want for money so that his life could be easier, So again, I feel like it's shame on the people that are blaming any one side. Mainly because we were not in their life and we do not know what they were going through. We're listening. We heard what they were going through, but we still don't know what they're going through. Because no one that I've seen made a complaint went from the rags to riches story at the age of 21 like Will Smith did. None of them. None of the people saying what Will Smith should have did and da-da-da-da were rich at 21. So I feel like you just can't speak. You just can't speak. And then on top of that, we're dealing with a mature woman that unfortunately went through a lot in her life, but she did not know how to disclose that information to anybody on set because she felt that she couldn't trust them. It's nobody's fault, but both of theirs. But I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that disagree with me, and that's fine. We can adopt similar connections despite our differences, hopefully. And if not, oh well. I'm still going to feel the way that I feel, and hopefully you still feel the way that you feel, as long as it's in a respectful manner. But again, shout out to Janet Hubert for going on the reunion. Shout out to Janet Hubert for letting all of that go in the best way that she can. And shout out to Will Smith for allowing him to be vulnerable in front of America's eyes again and be judged in front of America's eyes again, dealing with from a black man to a black woman. And shout out to him for being mature enough to handle it in that manner. Showing other people how they should handle letting crap go and getting over it to receive an apology or to give an apology if you are in the wrong. I think it's very important because life is so short, and Janet Hubert made mention of that. Life is so short. Why? Why are we still angry at each other? Why are we still mad with each other when you're full grown and I'm full grown? Let's move the fuck on. And I've done that with everybody in my life that I've had a gripe with. I have moved the fuck on because life is too short. Now, whether or not they decide to meet you halfway and move on as well, it's completely up to them. And they're not obligated to forgive you like you've forgiven them. It's completely their choice. But as long as you do your due diligence and make it be known where you stand, it's nothing else that's needed from you. Period. I'm Wesley from AConnectionTV.com. Watch ACTV.com and A Connection TV here on YouTube, the two places of the World Wide Web where we adopt similar connections despite our differences. Leave your comments below and let me know how you feel, but please be respectful.